They have my brother. The rain fell in unbroken sheets, each drop a drumbeat against Zhu Meilan's chest. A black van, no plates, a shadow in the window. Panic sharp enough to cut through bone. And beside her, keen Yiran. Steady, calm, but with eyes that carried a truth they'd both been avoiding since that night. In these chapters, the threads begin to pull tight: kidnappings, whispered betrayals, a wedding night shrouded in lies, and a man who says, "I wasn't planning to leave." You are listening to the Velvet Story. Beneath the mask. And what Meilam doesn't know is that some betrayals live closer than blood. Chapter 59, A Thread in the Dark. The car ride was silent except for the sound of tires against rain-slicked asphalt. Zhu Meilam sat in the passenger seat, her nails dug into the sleeves of her coat. The rain hadn't stopped since the call from the hospital. It streaked the windows like tears, washing the city in a dull, wet grey. He couldn't have gotten far. Yiran said gently, steering through the turns with precise calm. He's paralyzed. Someone took him. They didn't want to hurt him yet, they wanted you to panic. I am panicking, she whispered. They have my brother. Yiran reached over without hesitation and gently took her hand. His palm was warm, grounding. We'll get him back. There was no doubt in his voice. And somehow, that made her feel like she could breathe again. A little. By the time they reached the private security office Yiran had mobilized. Rain dripped from the edges of Meilan's hair and coat. She didn't care. Her eyes were locked on the monitors that lined the dark walls. This is all footage from a 10-block radius around the hospital, said one of the techs. We've tapped into both government and private traffic cams. Here, someone called out, pointing at a feed. Black van. No plates. This angle was missed when the first footage sweep was wiped. Yiran stepped forward. Track the van's direction. Follow all routes heading out of that area within a 30-minute range. Prioritize warehouses, abandoned structures, or remote properties. Already running the algorithm. Meilam couldn't look away from the screen. That shadow, Zhu Hao's wheelchair silhouette, barely visible through the tinted window. Her stomach turned. I shouldn't have left him today, she whispered. He asked me to stay. Yiran glanced at her, voice low. You were at the hospital all night yesterday. You only left because the doctors insisted. I know, but, her voice broke. He's the only one I have. My parents are still unconscious. If I lose him, you are not losing anyone. He stepped beside her, firm. Listen to me. You did everything you could. You are not at fault. The people who did this, they chose this war. You just survived it. Her eyes filled again, but she didn't let the tears fall. Not this time. Instead, she turned and looked at him, really looked. You didn't have to come with me tonight. She said. You could have sent a team. I wanted to. Why? Yiran didn't hesitate. Because you're not just someone I admire anymore. I care, Meilam. Deeply. You know that. The words sat heavy between them. And real. But before she could reply, a tech called out, We've got a hit. Camera on Zanha Avenue, van turning into a gated lot. One security guard at entry, then it disappears. Yiran's expression darkened. Send the coordinates to my driver. I want my team on site in 10. Should we call the police? Meilam spoke this time, voice sharp. Not yet. Whoever did this has eyes. If we tip them off, they'll move him. Or worse. Yiran nodded, impressed by her composure despite the tremble still in her fingers. They arrived at the location within 30 minutes. The compound was quiet, too quiet. One flickering street lamp, a rusted gate, overgrown bushes curling along cracked cement walls. Yiran's private security team moved quickly, like shadows in the dark. Within moments, the perimeter was breached. Meilam stayed close to Yiran's side, breath held, heart in her throat. A crash, a shout, gun cocking, then, clear, they rushed inside the warehouse. And there, strapped to a wheelchair in a dim, cold corner. Zhu Hao, Meilam cried. Her brother's eyes fluttered open. Weak, dazed, but alive. She dropped to her knees beside him, hands flying to his face, his wrists, gently checking for signs of injury. I'm fine, he whispered. They didn't hurt me. Just drugged me. Said to tell you it was only a warning. Melan's jaw clenched. Her eyes were blazing now. A warning for what? But Zhu Hao only shook his head. They never said. But they were watching you. They know about the night. The wedding. Something about evidence. Her blood ran cold. The night. That night. The one she and Yiran both still didn't talk about, not fully. Not aloud. Behind her, Yiran stood like a shield, watching every shadow. Later that night, back in her apartment, after Zhu Hao had been taken to the hospital and sedated for rest, Melam stood at her window. Yiran had insisted on staying outside her door. Not forcing closeness, just there. Like a quiet protection. She opened the door now. Come in, she said softly. He didn't ask. He followed her inside. She poured tea, sat across from him. I think I'm starting to remember more from that night, she said slowly. Yiran looked up. There's a thread in my mind. Flashes. A hand pushing someone away. A voice, yours, I think. Telling someone to leave me alone. His eyes darkened. That night wasn't meant to happen. Not like that. I only realized later that it was you. I didn't know in the moment. And when I woke and you were gone, I thought, maybe it had been a setup. Maybe it was another trap from my uncle's side. I thought the same, she said. That someone had ruined me. Until I found the pin in your coat, until I started feeling safe around you, even when I didn't want to. They looked at each other. No more masks. I'm tired of wondering what if, she said. So am I. She reached across the table, fingers brushing his. I don't have much left to offer, Yiran. But if you still want to be near me, I won't stop you. He smiled softly, and for the first time in a long time, it reached his eyes. Good, he said, taking her hand fully. Because I wasn't planning to leave. End of chapter 59. Chapter 60, The Taste of Ordinary. The first rays of dawn were soft. They slid through the slats of Zhu Melan's blinds, brushing against the faint bruises under her eyes, the curve of her cheek as she lay curled on the couch. She hadn't gone to her bedroom, neither had Yiran. They had fallen asleep on opposite sides of the living room, somewhere between midnight tea and unsaid promises. She stirred now, slowly waking to the faint scent of something warm and rich. Coffee? She blinked against the light, pulling the blanket tighter as her eyes adjusted. Her living room was quiet, but the kitchen. Keen Yiran stood there. He was wearing a crisp white shirt, sleeves rolled up to the forearms. A pan sizzled softly beside him, the aroma of ginger and scallions curling in the air. He moved with surprising ease, flipping what looked like fried rice and egg into a bowl, pouring 2 mugs of coffee with the same precision he reserved for multi-billion-dollar deals. She sat up slowly. You cook? She asked, her voice husky from sleep. He glanced over his shoulder, a rare, faint smile on his lips. Only for emergencies, he said. And women who save my company's face and make my heart hurt when they cry. She blinked. Which category do I fall into today? His smile deepened. Both. He brought the tray over. Simple food. A familiar comfort. Zhu Hao? She asked immediately. Sleeping peacefully. I called the hospital an hour ago. She nodded, some tension easing from her shoulders. Yiran handed her the coffee. Their fingers brushed. That same electricity. Eat, he said. You didn't touch anything yesterday. She took a bite, paused, and looked at him with surprise. This is actually good. I had to bribe the housekeeper to teach me, he said, taking his own bite. Don't sound so surprised. I just didn't imagine you doing this. Cooking, smiling, existing in silence. I didn't either, he said after a moment, voice quiet. Until you. The morning passed slowly. Melam took a shower. Yiran tidied the space without being asked. No grand drama. Just 2 people sharing the same space, not running from ghosts for once. By noon, she stepped out in soft grey slacks and a light knit blouse. Minimal makeup. Still elegant, still composed, but softer now. Yiran looked up from the armchair where he sat reading reports. You look better, he said. I feel better. She hesitated. Thank you for not trying to fix everything. Just being here. He tilted his head, thoughtful. I don't want to fix you. I just want to hold your hand while you do it yourself. That made her throat tighten. She crossed the room and stood in front of him. I'm still not sure what we are, she said honestly. Neither am I, he replied. But I'm not confused about how I feel. Her heart skipped. Before either could say more, Melan's phone buzzed. She answered, voice wary. Hello, Ems, Zoo. I apologize for contacting you this way. I'm from the Lee Consortium. There's something you may want to see. They met that evening at a discreet location. A quiet bar tucked beneath a hotel lobby. Yiran was with her. The man, mid-30s, unassuming, with the manner of someone who lived in data, slid a folder across the table. It took me time to trace this, but I believe someone framed you using an old internal logistics channel linked to the former Lin Holdings accounts. Melan's hands stilled over the folder. Her pulse jumped. Yiran's brows furrowed. You have proof? The man nodded. I couldn't find the full trail, but there's enough to reopen questions. Especially if you present this at the next arbitration meeting. Inside the folder, logs, metadata, offshore routing details. But more than that, a name. And it wasn't Lin Jianong. Melan's breath stopped. It was someone else. Someone closer. Someone from within her father's circle. Uncle Zhen? She whispered. Yiran leaned closer, reading the name. His jaw tightened. He was your father's oldest advisor. And the one who insisted I marry Li Jianwei, Melan said, voice shaking. The betrayal felt personal. The threads were weaving themselves now, money trails, manipulated shares, and her wedding night. It wasn't just about Lin Jianong anymore. It was bigger, more tangled. Melan straightened slowly, fire flickering back into her eyes. I want to fight. Yiran looked at her for a long time. Then nodded. Then I'll be right beside you. That night, she didn't sleep on the couch. She didn't even suggest separate rooms. Instead, after dinner, when they returned to her home, she opened her bedroom door, stepped inside, and paused. Yiran watched from behind. She turned, gaze calm but certain. You're welcome to stay. No expectations. Just, don't leave. He didn't ask questions. He didn't need to. He entered the room and closed the door behind him. And though they didn't cross the line of intimacy that night, something deeper passed between them. Trust. For the first time in a long time, Zhu Melan didn't feel alone. End of chapter 60. Chapter 61, The Fall of the Familiar. The sun was sharp the next morning. Zhu Melan stood tall at the Zhu Group's downtown legal division office, the same one she hadn't stepped into since the disgrace of her wedding day. The tension in the air was palpable. Half the board still doubted her, and the other half feared what her return might mean. But today, she wasn't asking for permission. She came with proof. And with keen Yiran. He stood a step behind her, dressed in navy, his presence commanding but not overshadowing her. For once, he wasn't the CEO of the Keen Empire. He was simply hers. Quiet support, quiet strength. A conference room door opened. The legal committee was already gathered inside. Senior counsel, shareholder representatives, and, at the far end of the long table, Uncle Zhen. He looked unchanged, regal in his tailored suit. Calm, unreadable. But Melan could see it now, the lies buried behind his smooth words, the pity in his voice when her world had shattered, all those years spent beside her father, wasted. She walked in. They all stood out of formality. She didn't wait for them to sit. I'm here to contest the transfer of 40% Zhu Group shares, she said clearly. I have new evidence regarding the circumstances of that transfer, and of my forced divorce. No one spoke. She placed the folder on the table. I believe I was coerced under duress, during a time of extreme mental and emotional distress, compounded by a series of staged events designed to discredit and trap me. The lawyers whispered to each other. Pages turned. Silence stretched. Then, Uncle Zhen finally spoke. You're mistaken, he said gently. Meelam, this was settled. The legal paperwork was signed while my entire family was in the hospital, she said sharply. While I believed I'd been assaulted. While my brother had been kidnapped. And while you, my family, advised me to hand over the company to protect what little I had left. His eyes narrowed, just a touch. Watch your words, child. I am not a child anymore. She straightened. Your involvement with Lin Jianhong's offshore companies is traced in these documents. The payments, the blind trust accounts. You sold out the company long before I was ever married. Gasps rippled down the table. Yiran stepped forward then, calm, unreadable, but his voice carried like thunder. We've also uncovered evidence that suggests Mr. Zhen used a backdoor partnership with Li Jinwei, my cousin, through a proxy to orchestrate the staged scandal that broke during M's Zhu's wedding night. Melan's stomach clenched slightly. Speaking those words aloud still made her skin crawl. But, Yiran continued, his voice low and dangerous, the person she was with that night was not who they intended. He let the implication settle. Uncle Zhen paled, only slightly, but enough for Melam to see it. He hadn't known. That detail was a mistake. And it meant everything. The hearing was adjourned pending investigation. But the message was clear. She was no longer a pawn. The board no longer saw a broken daughter, a discarded bride. They saw the woman who was rising again, and the man who stood beside her. Later that day, Melam sat on the rooftop of her apartment building, wind catching the loose strands of her hair. Yiran joined her with 2 cups of tea. Not coffee, not alcohol, just something warm, simple. I didn't expect it to go that far today, she said quietly. You didn't back down, he said. You are reclaiming your name. She looked down at her hands. The faint tremble had stopped. But the ache hadn't. Do you ever feel like, if you let your guard down, everything will fall apart again? All the time, he said honestly. That's how I know I still care. She looked at him, startled. He met her gaze, steady. No smirk, no careful detachment. You are not the only one who's been surviving, Melam. Something in her chest shifted. Like a door slowly opening. You knew I wasn't the one they meant that night, she said softly. He nodded. I pieced it together after. I recognized the whale ribbon, your family crest. You wore it in your hair. I found it tangled in my cufflink the next day. Her breath caught. You knew. I suspected. But I wanted you to come to me. Not because of guilt. Because you wanted to. She turned toward him fully now. I do. Yiran's jaw tensed slightly, like he didn't dare move. I don't want you because you saved me. She whispered. I want you because you stayed. When everything in my life was ugly, you stayed. He reached for her then, slowly, like she might vanish if he rushed. Their hands met in the middle. It wasn't a kiss, not yet, but it was more intimate than anything either of them had known in years. It was a promise, not of perfection, but of something real. End of chapter 61. Chapter 62, A Name Reclaimed. The office was quiet, almost reverent. Melam stood in the center of the Zhu Group press room. Her heart steady but sharp. In front of her stood dozens of journalists, photographers, industry figures, and live streaming news anchors. For the first time in nearly a year, the world was watching her, not as the disgraced bride, not as the whispered about heiress, but as the woman who had returned to reclaim her name. A low hum settled as she stepped to the podium. Her figure, graceful in a tailored white suit with silver details, glowed under the spotlight. Dignified, soft, unshaken. Behind the scenes, keen Yiran watched with unreadable eyes. He hadn't intervened. This was her moment. Melan's voice was calm, clear, and resolute. Thank you for attending today. She took a breath. 1 year ago, I became the subject of public scrutiny after what was meant to be a private tragedy. My wedding ended in scandal. My family suffered grave injuries. I was accused, dismissed, and erased from my own legacy. And I was silent. Cameras clicked. Pens scribbled. But silence is not the same as guilt. She glanced around the room. Not defiant, just true. I was the victim of a long-standing internal betrayal. The evidence we have recently uncovered points to manipulation of Zoo Group holdings, bribes to board members, and a planned scandal involving my name, all designed to remove me from succession and consolidate power in hands not loyal to my family. A ripple moved through the room. I will not be silenced anymore. I have filed formal charges with the Commercial Regulatory Bureau and a petition for board review. Effective today, I have retracted the 40% share transfer previously made under duress and intend to fight for my family's rightful legacy. Flashes exploded. Gasps followed. A few in the room started clapping, softly, then stronger. Meelam didn't smile. She wasn't here for applause. Only truth. But she felt it. A shift. For the first time, the public eye wasn't cold. It was listening. That evening, she returned to her apartment, every nerve still buzzing. Yiran was waiting in the kitchen, stirring something quietly. He didn't greet her with questions or dramatics. Just handed her a warm cup of ginger tea and tilted his head. How did it feel? Like breathing for the first time in a year, she said softly. He nodded. You were brilliant. She smiled faintly and leaned on the counter. People will start digging now, she murmured. They'll see what's true, but they'll also start asking more about you. He raised an eyebrow. Let them. She looked at him seriously. You are getting tangled in my mess. He met her gaze, unwavering. Then I'll stay tangled. Her breath hitched, a laugh escaping her. But her chest tightened. I don't know if I deserve this. Any of it. Yiran took a quiet step closer. You think I stayed because you deserved me? He asked, voice low. I stayed because I saw something worth staying for. Even when you didn't. Silence stretched. Heavy. Beautiful. Can I show you something? He asked suddenly. She nodded. He led her to the rooftop. The city stretched around them, endless glass towers, soft glowing lights. But at the edge of the railing, he pulled a chain from his pocket. A small trinket hung on the end. Meelam recognized it instantly. Her veil ribbon. The one she'd worn the night of her wedding. The one she thought lost. I found this caught in my cufflink the next morning, he said quietly. I didn't know who you were yet. But I knew it meant something. You kept it? All this time. She swallowed. You fell for me that night? I fell for you the moment I realized you still wanted to protect the people who betrayed you. He paused. And then I kept falling. Every time you got back up. Meelam stared at him. Her fingers brushed the ribbon. Her heart, once shattered, beat louder than it had in months. I was afraid to feel again, she whispered. Yiran didn't reach for her. He waited. So she stepped into him, slowly, laying her head against his chest. And he wrapped his arms around her like she'd belonged there all along. End of chapter 62. She had taken the podium and reclaimed her name, white suit, silver edges, unshaken. The world listened. That night, on a quiet rooftop, Yiran placed the ribbon in her hands, the one she thought lost. The one that tied them to a night that was never meant to be. I stayed because I saw something worth staying for, he told her. But as the city lights flickered below, one truth settled between them. This was only the first strike. Because the ones who had set the game in motion, still hadn't shown their full hand. You've been listening to the Velvet Story. In the next chapter of Beneath the Mask slips.